Are you a game developer with a great mobile game idea? Don't know what to do next? You've come to the right place. We'll talk about what you can do next with your ideas while also saving time and money in the process. This video is for indie mobile developers, free-to-play indie developers, and game developers interested in turning their hobby into a self-sustaining business. In our last video on this topic, Mobile Development Explained, we talked about the live ops cycle, mobile games monetization, user acquisition, and more. In this video, we're taking a closer look at the beginning of the mobile game development journey. Everything to consider before all of that. That's right. In this video, we'll go over how to come up with a strong game concept and turn that concept into a sustainable game. We'll look at mobile game industry insights, best practices, and we'll even have a special guest from Unity, Andrew Kasbari, Director of Product Management, weigh in on the topic during the video. Please note, while we appreciate Unity sharing their knowledge with the Ask Gamedev community, this is not a sponsored video. We are Ask Gamedev, and this is everything you need to know when concepting your mobile game. Welcome back. We make videos on how to elevate your game development and inspire others. If after watching this video you want to continue the game dev conversation, check the video description for a link to our Discord server. We are now making fresh Ask Gamedev content on all of the major social networks, so be sure to check us out there too. Welcome to pre-production. While all studios are different and there's not a set industry definition, pre-production can include the creation of game design documents, game pitches, and prototypes. For this video, we're going to focus on game concepts. We'll look at how to form your game concepts in 4 steps. Step 1. Do some market research. What are people playing? What will they be playing? What genres and themes are resonating at the moment, and what's trending? Conversely, what would stand out? Take a look at industry reports to get a better understanding of the space and a broad view of the market. Unity's 2021 Gaming Reports has some great data and may be able to point you in the right direction. Here are a couple of insights from the report that we found handy. Nearly all mobile gaming categories demonstrated significant ad revenue growth in 2020. Categories that had exceptional growth were board, casual puzzle, trivia, and card, with the latter seeing a 108% increase. The only category that saw a decline was sports. This may be because real-life sports saw a pause during this time. For the majority of game categories, in-app purchases bring in a larger percentage of revenue versus ads. Genres like adventure, role-playing, and strategy relied heavily on in-app purchases, while only arcade, word, and sports favored ads instead. And finally, according to the devs surveyed, the most widely used ad provider is Google AdMob at 42%, followed by Unity at 34%, and Facebook Audience Network at 23%. Knowing bits of information like this will help you steer your game ideas in the right direction.
High-level categories provide good direction, but going deeper and researching subcategories, such as dice games in the board genre, will help you understand the market better. Scouring the App Store charts or using market insight tools is a good way to do this. Also, IAP-driven categories, such as role-playing games, require a much deeper metagame, leading to longer development times, but they can pay off more. More casual games, such as arcade games, can be developed and brought to market faster.
Step 2. Come up with a great idea. The next thing you need to do is come up with your game concept. We've covered this topic in detail in our Game Ideas video. Give it a watch and see if it inspires any ideas. While you're coming up with your ideas, it's important to consider 2 factors crucial for success. You'll want a concept that promotes player engagement and generates revenue. Let's talk about player engagement first. Player engagement is all about retention. Your game needs to be addictive enough for players to not only enjoy long play sessions, but also enough to get them to come back to your game in the future. How will your game keep players engaged? Your engagement strategy should be defined early in development. A reactive engagement strategy will never be as effective as designing your game with a specific engagement strategy in mind. This is very important, as long-term engagement is crucial for monetizing. Mobile titles that focus on long-term engagement see over 80% of their revenue generated by players who have been playing for more than a month. Speaking of monetization, you'll also want to plan well ahead how you'll monetize your game. If you want to create a self-sustaining business, monetization has to be core to your concept. Do you plan to have ads? How will you implement them? Or maybe you'll have in-app purchases. How about a combination of both? You need to know exactly how you're going to monetize your title while you're working on the core game loop. Monetization features that are added after launch can feel tacked on and may lead to a poor player experience. In summary, your concept has to be both engaging and profitable. You want a fun experience for your players, and you also want to be able to keep the lights on and give yourself the ability to continue making great games.
I can't emphasize enough that monetization and engagement should be core to a game concept. It shouldn't be an afterthought. Having a healthy balance of IAP and ads will allow for a stronger long-term success. Don't overdo it though. Players really don't like to be bombarded with ads. Also, make sure to A/B test different ad placements and economy balances to figure out what works best for your game.
Step 3. Qualify your game concept. Once you have your game concept ready, it's time to qualify it. Ask yourself the following questions. What is your core game mechanic? What is it that players do routinely in your game? What actions does your game revolve around? Once you've defined your core mechanic, you want to make sure it fits with your theme. What themes are typically bundled with your game mechanic? Now, let's take a closer look at your theme. Is the theme of your game underserved? Is it oversaturated? Once you've qualified your core mechanic and theme and feel they fit together organically, it's time to ask the toughest question. Why should anyone play your game? As we all know, a plethora of new games are launched every single day. There's already a game out there for everyone. What makes your game more attractive than others? What benefits does your game have over its closest competitors? Is it better art, better music, a better gameplay loop, an innovation to a genre? You need to know exactly why anyone should play your game.
Make your game unique and test the waters with smaller groups of people. The best way to know if you're on the right track is having real people play your game. Do some research on how to properly conduct user research studies before doing this. For example, you really don't want to be asking leading questions, otherwise your user research may be skewed.
Validate your concept with some market testing. There are a number of ways to validate your concept. One way is to run early marketability tests. Here are a number of tests you can try. Create videos of your concept and run ads. You don't have to write a single line of code. In fact, some Kickstarted games started as just videos made in After Effects. See what kind of click-through rates your videos get. Send those clicks to a landing page and see how many signups you get. Create a prototype with a working core loop and get player feedback. Host a version on a site with a great community like Congregate or itch.io and find out what players like or dislike about your game. You'll also be able to track important elements like average play session time and retention. Use click-through rate tests on concepts to compare different game concepts. Don't want to make a video or prototype? Try A/B testing concept images to see what resonates. And lastly, use cost per install tests on prototypes to validate whether the game can scale. If you have a low cost per install, that's a good indication that you would be able to scale. If it's higher, you may have to take another look at your presentation or value proposition. This test is the most involved of all the options, but you will be getting more concrete validation because you're acquiring real users. Once you've validated your game, you'll be able to feel comfortable moving into production.
Do as much research as you can before putting a lot of time into development. Create videos. Regardless, you'll need to create some marketing videos for your games. These can be used on web pages to validate ideas, or can later be used as ads. Click-through rate tests can also help guide visual elements of your game and help steer development before you go too deep, but they don't always provide the most concrete validation for whether a game can actually scale. CPI tests, however, provide concrete data for your game, but are more complex to run. Remember, CPI is relative to the game genre, so take a look at industry data to know what good is. Ultimately, you want your CPI to be lower than your LTV so that you can scale profitably.
Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Andrew and Unity. For more Ask Game Dev, check out this video on mobile game engines or this video on mobile game development explained.